Hi everybody, this is Miss Jurgens, and in this video, we are going to be talking about reflections. We're going to talk about reflections. So think to yourself, what is a reflection a type of? It's a type of something. What is it a type of? It is a type of transformation, okay? It's a type of transformation. The 4 kinds of transformations, can you think of those? You've got reflections. What are the other 3? We've got dilations, we've got rotations, and you have translations, okay? And you can find review videos of all 4 kinds on this YouTube page, okay? So if you want to review any of those, you can. But in this video, we're going to look at reflections. Okay, so it's like looking at reflection in a lake, in the water of like a lake, or in the mirror when you wake up in the morning. That's what we're going to be doing with our shapes in this video. So here we go. I've got my instructions here. I'm going to reflect this triangle over the y-axis, okay? So you need to know where your y-axis is, where your x-axis is. Your y-axis is this one right here. It's the one that goes up and down. It's vertical, okay? Your x-axis goes right and left, okay? That's your x-axis. So here we're focusing on the y-axis, and we want to reflect this shape over the y-axis, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Here we go. I've got here, I'm going to do my new object. I'm going to do blue, okay? Now, since we're going over the y-axis, I need to know how far each point is from the y-axis. So let's start with T. If I start here and I count over, I got 1 space, okay? So T is 1 space away from the y-axis. Now, when I started, it's on the right side. When I'm reflecting it, I want to go the other direction. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start on the y-axis, and I'm going to go 1 to the left, okay? And that's it. That's all we do to reflect over the y-axis. I'm going to go ahead and label that as T prime. Remember, this TVO, that's my pre-image. That's my original. Here, this is prime, okay? This is going to become my image. It's my new shape, okay? So I want to prime that to specify the difference. Pre-image, image. All right, so I've done that with T. Let's go ahead and do that with V over here. If I start here, I count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to go back. We always start where the y-axis is. We're going to go the other way though. And it was 5, so I need to count 5 over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. That is going to be V. I'm going to go ahead and connect those. And then I want to label it V prime. All right. And then last, I've got O. O is right here. If I count over, I've got 1, 2. So I'm going to start back here, and I'm going to count over 1, 2. I'm going to plot my spot down. There we go. And I can go ahead and finish connecting my triangle. And then I still need to make sure I label this as O prime. All right. Now, when I write this out, right, I've got my pre-image. I'm reflecting over the y-axis, and that's going to give me my image. So I'm going to start with point T. My pre-image, point T, was a positive 1. I went to the right one, and I went up 1, 2, 3, 4. You go up together. So your y value is a positive 4. V, I'm going to the right. We already did that 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you go up 1, 2. So positive 2. And then O, my pre-image, we did that with positive 2. And I go up 1. So that's my pre-image. After I reflected it, gives me t prime. All right, and let's look at what happens here. So now I'm going to the left one. So my x value is -1. I'm still going up 1, 2, 3, 4 though. So that is still a +4. V prime, we're going to look and do the same thing. Let's look at this ordered pair. I went to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5 because it was left. It was still up 1, 2. And then finally I have O prime. I went to the left 1, 2, so that's a -2. And my Y value, I went up 1, +1. So let's see how we would write this, like as a math sentence, okay? I want to look and see how my ordered pairs changed. How did my X change or how did my Y change? All right, we started with an X and we started with a Y. All right, and then when I reflected that over the Y-axis, let's see how my X changed. I went from 1 to a -1. So the number, the 1 didn't change, but it went from a positive to a negative. Same thing with V. I had a +5, and that turned to a -5. And with O, I had a +2, that switched to a -2. So what's happening here is I end up getting the opposite of what my X value is. All right. This negative sign, I like to think of it as meaning the opposite of. You're just taking if you had a positive to start with, it's going to make your X value negative. If you're going over the Y-axis and you started with a -X, after you go over that Y-axis, it's going to become a +X. So your X value is going to be the opposite of what it started as. All right, let's see if our Y's changed. I had 4, those are the same. My 2's are the same. My 1's are the same. So Y doesn't change at all. So if you're thinking about reflecting something over the Y-axis, you're going to be taking the opposite here. You're going to have the opposite of X, and then your Y stays the same, which is kind of weird because you're thinking Y-axis, but it's your X value that changes. All right. Let's go and let's do one more here. I want to look at, what happened? I want to reflect over the X-axis here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a shape, and we're going to reflect it over the X-axis. So let's say I have a point here. Let's say I've got a point here, and then how about right there? So this is just my pre-image. Ooh, that didn't straighten for me. Let's try that again. I would like it to straighten. Oh, that'll work. And we will call this T, this V, and this O. All right. Here we're reflecting over the X-axis. All right, this information is just going to be given to you normally. All right, I did just draw it in right now. I'm reflecting over the X-axis. We're going to do the same way, right? But instead of looking at Y here, the Y-axis, we're going to look at X. So let's start with T. T, we want to see how far away it is from the X-axis. So if I look, it's 1, 2, 3 spaces away from the X-axis. I'm going to go back to my X-axis, and I'm going to count 3 the other direction. 1, 2, 3. So this is T prime. We're going to do the same thing with V here. V is 1, 2 away from the X-axis. Go back to the X-axis, and we're going to go 1, 2. I'll go ahead and connect T and V. And that is V prime. I've got my last dot is O. O is right here. Now O is 1 spot away from the X-axis. I'm going to go back to the X-axis. I've got to make sure I go the other direction. So O is going to be 1 away on the opposite side there because we're reflecting it. So there's my O prime, and I'm going to connect my last points here. We'll see if that straightens for me. There we go. And we will still label that as O prime. All right. So that's how we would reflect over the y-axis or x-axis. All right. Let's go down here again. Let's look at what this means if I were to write it out. I've got my pre-image. I'm reflecting over the x-axis, and it gives me my image. So T, my original point, was +1, up 1, 2, 3. Now when I reflected that, T prime, I go here, I still went to the right one, that's still positive, but now I'm going down 3. So my y value is now a -3. B, we started here. We went right 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was up 1, 2. When I reflected that over the x-axis, I still went to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. But now I go down 1, 2. So my y value is now a -2. And then O, I started out 1, 2 to the right, up, oopsies, down. This is my original, right? This is my pre-image right there. So I went to the right 2 and I went down 1. So that's a -1. My image, my O prime, still went to the right, 1, 2. But this time my prime goes up, so that's a +1. So just like we did reflecting over the y-axis, let's talk about what this means if you're going to write this algebraically. We start with our original planes, our pre-image were x and y. We just started with an ordered pair there. Reflecting over the x-axis, my x's, I've got 1 and 1, 4, 4, 2, 2. They didn't change at all. So I'm going to keep that as just regular x there. My y's, I went from 3 to a -3, 2 to a -2. My O was -1 to a +1. So my y's are now what becomes the opposite. And we show opposite by that negative sign. That means opposite. So opposite of what your y was in your pre-image. Here it went from negative to positive. Here it went from positive to negative. And that can happen sometimes because my pre-image started on both sides of my x-axis. So your image should be on both sides of your x-axis. And again, it's kind of weird because you're reflecting over the x-axis. It's your y value that changes. All right, well, that's your review on reflections. Hopefully this was helpful to you.